Turns out that Hunter Biden is still experiencing a Justice Department investigation on two separate issues. One of those issues is the idea that he failed to pay taxes on earnings from jobs he did in foreign countries. Turns out he later paid $1 million in back taxes. Super scintillating story. The other issue has to do with him possibly failing to file as a foreign agent while he was working for companies in other countries. So let's start off with his laptop, of course. Turns out that there are emails that were retrieved from a laptop that he left behind at a repair store. And in those email exchanges, we learn a little more about his back and forth with a business partner in regard to whether they should file as foreign agents. So prosecutors have also asked about potential FARA violations by Washington consulting firm Blue Star Strategies that worked for the Ukrainian energy company in an arrangement that Biden helped broker, according to documents and the people familiar with the investigation. Now, let's talk about the emails. According to reporting from the New York Times, in the April 2014 email, Hunter Biden indicated that Burisma's officials, quote, need to know in no uncertain terms that we will not and cannot intervene directly with domestic policymakers and that we need to abide by the Foreign Agents Registration Act, or FARA, and any other US laws in the strictest sense across the board. Whoa, that seems bad.
Yeah, Anna, that's my point. That's my point. So let me weigh in on this story. We now have firm conclusions. Hunter Biden and his laptop. Okay, first, let me just declare our bias in this case is approximately 0%. We don't give a damn about Hunter Biden. We don't care if he's innocent. We don't care if he's guilty.
He ain't my hero.
Yeah, so Democrats defend Hunter Biden, the Republicans attack him. They're both incredibly biased. For us, he's a rando son of a powerful person, so what? Okay, so if he was completely, and by the way, when the headlines hit, I was like, oh, let's see what they got. And if turns out he did it, okay, fine, great, put him away. I don't care at all, okay? So now, there's a reason why it matters, and it's about Joe Biden, and the jury's come in completely. So we'll explain. So let me go one by one. On the case, I'm glad they brought it. Why am I glad they brought it against Hunter Biden? Because it turns out some bitch hadn't paid his taxes. All of a sudden they bring a case. He's like, oh yeah, well, I always meant to pay the tax. Did you? Because it didn't seem like you meant to pay the taxes. So on that alone, I'm glad that the federal authorities brought this case against Hunter Biden.
Can I just say something real quick? Look, I'm with you. I think it's very likely that he was dodging his taxes. However, just devil's advocate, he went through a pretty lengthy stretch of being addicted to some serious drugs, okay?
Oh, totally.
So he left his laptop behind at a repair shop that had all sorts of sensitive stuff in it.
Yes, on the other hand, it turns out the laptop, in an incredible, spectacular twist of irony, proves that Joe Biden didn't do it, which I'll get to in a second.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, so but you're right, he was a hot mess and no one would dispute that, including Hunter Biden and Joe Biden,
correct.
Right? So, but guys, on the actual charges, he's guilty but not guilty, right? So on taxes. So because did he not pay them? No, he didn't pay them, right? And the fact that you pay them later doesn't actually make you innocent, but it makes it incredibly hard to convict you. Now, there isn't a prosecutor in the country that's gonna bring that charge minus the politics.
Because it's difficult to convince a jury to want to convict you
after you already paid them,
paid your
right?
taxes, yeah.
So, and then he'll go in and say, hey, I was on a lot of things, and now that I'm sober, I paid the taxes. There's no way they're gonna convict on that. On FARA, the foreign agent issue, I have no idea. Let him keep going. Let the grand jury decide.
Right.
Let the jury decide. I don't know enough evidence about it. Seems like he could have done it, or he might not have done it. I'm not at all sure. Okay. So, and if they convict him on that, good. I don't care. That means that they had enough evidence. Okay. So now, most importantly, who cares about Hunter Biden? The question is Joe Biden corrupt? Right. Well, Anna just read you a quote that said, remember, we need to abide by the laws, which was gonna be pretty good evidence in this trial that he's not guilty of the FARA violations either. And our partners need to know in no uncertain terms, are we going to interfere? But wait, that's not all. There's a money quote coming up here. he does refer to Joe Biden as quote unquote my guy, right? So I love how the right wing is so shallow. They're like a millimeter deep, right? They're like, the laptop is real. By the way, the laptop is real. That's interesting. That's interesting. Okay, so we'll grant that. And then they're like, and then he said in the emails, my God, my God. Yeah, we know, dude, that's Joe Biden. We know that. Okay, so but what did he say about my guy? He said, my guy, but not, he wouldn't refer to him by name, but he said that he should be, quote, characterized. Now remember, he's on the Ukrainian gas company's board, so he's trying to make himself look important to them, so they keep paying him ungodly sums of money for no reason at all.
$40,000 a month.
$40,000 a month, okay? So he says about his relationship with his dad, it should be, quote, characterized as part of our advice and thinking. In other words, what Biden's gonna say is should be characterized as our advice and our thinking, so that the board members think, oh man, this guy's got the vice president saying. But he continues, this is a direct quote from a document he did not think would ever be revealed. But what he will say and do is out of our hands. Joe Biden, definitively not guilty. It's right there in the laptop. He says, there's nothing I could do about my dad. Whatever he does is totally out of my hands. In fact, he goes on to explain, quote, it could be a really good thing or it could end up creating too great an expectation. We need to temper expectations regarding his visit. Meaning, like, tell them we're actually doing it, although we're definitely not doing it, right? And then if dad doesn't give them what they want, because I have no idea what dad's gonna do, don't promise too much, because then we'll look like idiots. He was definitely not working with his dad. Joe Biden, 1,000,000,000% not guilty. Thank you, right wing, for exposing that.
Yeah, and look, this investigation actually started during the Obama administration. Certainly the earnings that seem to be going untaxed from foreign companies. And so it's not just right wingers going after him. The DOJ has apparently been looking into this even during the Obama administration, which I thought was honestly a sign of our government working in a way, because remember, Biden was vice president at the time.
Yeah.
And you would assume that if your father's vice president, the DOJ is gonna back off. But no, the DOJ started this investigation in 2015.
I've got to say, that's such a spectacular point.
Well, thank you.
No, but I'm serious, because I read in the story that it started under the Obama administration, criminal investigation of Hunter Biden, the vice president's son. And I was like, wait, how come nobody ever said that? They made it seem like, oh, Trump got him, or now we need the Ukrainians to tell us more. Remember, that's what the impeachment of Trump was about, because he's like, find me more evidence about Hunter Biden, otherwise I won't give you military aid as Russia is about to invade, okay? So, but on top of that, listen to what Anna is saying. Apparently our government works a little bit.
A little bit.
Right? They started an investigation when they had no idea Trump was running. That's back in 2 years before Trump even emerged.
Yeah, let me give you the exact excerpt from the New York Times report so you know what I'm talking about. So this is in regard to the potential unpaid taxes. The investigation, which began as a tax inquiry under the Obama administration, widened in 2018 to include possible criminal violations of tax law. So they started looking into it under the Obama administration. As they were doing it, they're like, well, by the time we hit 2018, maybe we need to widen this. There are other potential issues, including working as foreign lobbying or possible money laundering rules being broken. But from the reporting that we have now, from the facts that we have now, there isn't anything indicating that there is money laundering. If there is, I'm sure it'll come out in the future. But as it stands right now, it's about him possibly failing to file as a foreign agent. That investigation is ongoing, and it's unclear as to whether or not the prosecutors are gonna press charges against him in regard to the previously unpaid taxes, which he later paid to the tune of $1 million. In fact, prosecutors are already talking about charging him or going after him in a civil case rather than a federal criminal case.
All right, last 2 points goes to our members. Guerrilla Radio wrote it. I thought Tucker Carlson had Hunter Biden's laptop.
What happened, Tucker?
That's hilarious. It's such a good point. I love how smart our audience is. Hey, Tucker, where's the laptop? It looks like the New York Times has the evidence. Prosecutors have the laptop. You don't seem to have it. Oh, right, you were lying, as always, liar. Number 2, Tuffy. Wow, investigating Hunter for back taxes. and not Trump has got to be the biggest hypocrisy in history.
Right.
Right-wingers, you really want political leaders investigated for tax fraud? Great. I don't give a damn about Hunter Biden. I say investigate them all. And now all of a sudden Republicans slowly walking backwards out of the room. I mean, when Republicans cheat on their taxes, that's just smart business. That's just smart business. But Hunter Biden and his laptop. Okay, oh yeah, that's what we thought. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.